Bring in show music, please.
This is Squawk Pod, and I'm CNBC producer Cameron Costa. On today's episode, former vice president at Cigna, Wendell Potter, says what he saw working as a healthcare executive made him quit the industry.
The reason for this anger is because people are finally waking up and realizing they have a voice here and have figured out how to express their anger.
And a gift guide for the last-minute shoppers among us. It's not too late. The Wall Street Journal's Joanna Stern has a list of recs you can buy and wrap today, like an AI subscription.
I'm currently paying for 2 of them, so if someone would like to get me that gift and take that off me, I would love that.
Plus, the other headlines you've got to know to start your week. A government shutdown averted, President-elect Trump announcing new picks for his incoming administration, and at the box office, not everything was a hit.
I could make a prequel of The Lion King and not screw it up.
It's Monday, December 23rd.
Christmas Eve, I think.
Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Andrew by in 3, 2, 1. Cue Andrew.
Good morning and welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. On this Monday morning, we are live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Andrew Sorkin along with Joe Kernen. Becky's out today on this big holiday week.
Lawmakers avoided a government shutdown over the weekend. The deal sets a stage for the agenda for the next Congress. And Emily Wilkins joins us now with more. Emily, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Well, yeah, the fight over the shutdown funding, it means that more messy battles are likely to come in the next 2 years in Congress. And that, of course, includes raising the debt limit that allows the U.S. to keep meeting its financial obligations. Now, the looming debt limit has become a big concern for Donald Trump, who, of course, pushed unsuccessfully to extend it for another 2 years into 2027. Lawmakers will likely have until the end of summer to either raise the debt limit or suspend it again. But they did come to a handshake agreement during this shutdown battle with Trump. They have a plan, and they would raise the debt limit $1.5 trillion through a process that would not require any Democratic support. Meantime, they would find $2.5 trillion in spending cuts. Now, it's not clear exactly where that $2.5 trillion would come from. Lawmakers would have to likely find some cuts in programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and nutritional assistance. I spoke with Congressman Gary Palmer, who offered up a couple ideas on Friday.
I think we need to look at the COVID spending. There's no reason to have continued the COVID spending. I also need to be looking at the improper payments. We're close to $250 billion in improper payments over that 10-year window.
The debt limit is just one of several items lawmakers are going to have to address in the new year. That includes, of course, those expiring tax packages at the end of 2025 and re-electing the speaker. Guys?
Interesting. David Malpass comes on a lot. Longtime friend of the show. Trump and the fake debt limit should get rid of it. Rather than a restraint, it serves as an incentive for more spending. And there's some interesting points here. I know if you haven't seen it yet, it's fake. The debt limit. It's after you've already spent the money. You raised it at this point, and there's 3 reasons why it's not great. First, it promotes the fiction that there's actually a debt limit protecting the public, and there isn't. Second, financial markets are harmed by the repeated risk. Oh no, we didn't raise the debt limit, we're gonna miss it. So credit markets. And then third, many times when you finally get Congress to increase the debt ceiling, it only comes after you promise them a bunch of pork. So to get them to do it.
Exactly, Joe. And that's why you've seen Trump come out and say we should just eliminate it.
What's the point?
And I think there would actually be some support in Congress to do that.
Yeah.
But then
Democrats
you take away a
wanted to do
leverage
that.
point for people to say, okay, you want us to raise it, we need to cut some spending. So there are
Emily,
pros and cons.
Democrats,
you have fewer headaches.
Democrats have wanted to do that, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a horrible idea. Maybe it's something to actually consider.
I mean, it's one of those things where on one hand, it's fewer headaches. You have fewer battles over raising this debt limit. When, again, that was a concept that came around in the last century. Congress has not always had to approve a debt limit. But then on the other hand, you have this point where lawmakers are saying, okay, hey, if we're going to go ahead and raise it, now is a good time to take a look at spending, take a look at cuts, take a look at our debt, our deficit. And for a lot of the fiscal hawks, for a lot of you, if you remember those 38 Republicans who sunk the Plan B deal to keep the government open, that was why a lot of them were concerned. They did not want to see a 2-year increase in suspending the debt limit without having that discussion over spending.
Okay.
She doesn't know that the "on the other hand" phrase is now trademarked.
Yeah, I don't think
John Ford. You can't. You did that so well, Emily.
He did.
When he's out,
OTOH.
you can do the "on the other hand" segment. It sounds like
you might have been reading his newsletter this morning. It's a thing. OTOH.
Always read John Ford. Always.
It's a thing. Let's say what else is going on over the weekend. The Trump transition team announcing some key staffing positions. The president-elect has now chosen Stephen Moran to be the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. He had been the senior advisor at the Treasury Department during Trump's first administration. So you're going to be seeing his name a lot. Meantime, Trump has chosen Tillman Fertitta as his ambassador to Italy. He is the owner of the NBA's Houston Rockets and the founder of hospitality giant Landry's, which operates more than 600 restaurants, casinos, hotels. He's also the former star of CNBC's reality series Billion Dollar Buyer.
Right.
And meantime, speaking of reality TV backgrounds, Trump has now chosen Mark Burnett as special envoy to the United Kingdom. Burnett was the producer of The Apprentice, as well as Survivor, Shark Tank, which you see here on this network, The Voice. He's also the former chair of MGM's television studio. And then I don't know if you saw, there was a whole other group of Silicon Valley names. Scott Kapoor from Andreessen Horowitz, Emil Michel, who worked at Uber many years ago. I'm thinking of Shri, who was just announced literally in the past, I think, 24 hours. Also an Andreessen Horowitz guy. Before that, Microsoft, worked at Twitter. And the Valley is going crazy. I mean, happily. They go on Twitter, they are cheering what is happening here. By the way, interestingly, across political aisles.
That is interesting. I saw kind of a spat on Twitter, people, I guess, sort of disparaging Mark Burnett, but then I didn't know anything about his background. I guess he joined the armed services when he was 17 years old or something. It has a pretty, before becoming one of the most successful, I guess, what would you call it, TV producers, but business people in the U.S. Close associate of, obviously, from The Apprentice and everything else to the president-elect, who, by the way, spoke yesterday at a conservative conference in Phoenix. I think he did dance in the golf swing as well. He praised Elon Musk, but chuckled that he was being called President Musk online and said it wasn't going to happen because he wasn't born in this country. He also said that he would ban DEI programs at public institutions and private companies. We're going to talk more about that with activist Robbie Starbuck, who has led campaigns against DEI initiatives at multiple companies, as you probably know.
Meantime, the Federal Reserve may be on Elon Musk's Doge to-do list. In an ex-post, Musk refers to the central bank as absurdly overstaffed. Musk was responding to an earlier post from investor Chamath Palihapitiya about the Fed's interest rate decision last week. I should tell you, I asked Jay Powell specifically about this possibility, which was how Doge could impact the Federal Reserve. And he effectively made the argument that because they're considered an independent agency that's effectively self-funded, interestingly, it's completely a self-funded operation, that it was unclear whether there'd be, there's oversight technically from Congress, but it was built by Congress to be self-funded and to live in this sort of separate universe.
Think about it. If there's any entity that could be self-funded,
it is the Federal Reserve.
You would think. I'd pay. I mean, think if you could set your salary. Does $500 million a year sound good? Just crank it up, baby. Crank up the printing presses. It just sounded funny when you said that it's self-funded.
It is self-funded.
Yeah, I know. Well, if anything could be they got their.
It's not self-funded like that.
Oh, okay. Disney's Lion King prequel called Mufasa had a lackluster opening weekend at the box office. It brought in just $35 million. Expectations were for about $50 million, so it fell short. The movie reportedly cost more than $200 million to produce and about $100 million to promote. I don't know anything about it. Do you? Is it like woke? Did they?
No.
They didn't ruin it? Did they learn their lesson?
No,
they ruined a lot of it. There were 7 magical creatures because you couldn't, Disney. If there's any woke you go broke example of a true example, it's Disney.
I don't
ABC,
believe that this is the example of that.
Okay, all right.
I know.
I could make a prequel of The Lion King and not screw it up. I think it's such a great franchise, right?
Well, the difference
is Scar in it.
The difference is this is a live action thing.
I know. I've seen.
Seen the images.
I have.
So it's not the cartoon.
I'm ready to embrace a Lion King prequel.
Okay, but
so I think you have to. Screw it up to screw it up. Meantime, Paramount Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Do you know about this one? Took the top spot at the box office.
I'm aware of it. I haven't gone to see it.
Sure that's not.
I'm not in the demo.
You sure?
Well, yeah.
We're all in the demo. Spot at the box office, bringing in $62 million, beat expectations. This baby cost $122 million to make.
Cheese will be next.
Next on Squawk Pod, healthcare is at a crossroads. Former Cigna executive Wendell Potter shares his vision for where the industry goes from here in the wake of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson's tragic death.
While premiums continue to go up, the average cost of a premium for a family is over $25,000 now through an employer. So people are getting really fed up.
Welcome back to Squawk Pod.
Stand by, Joe. His mic, cue.
You're watching Squawk Box on CNBC. I'm Joe Kernen, along with Andrew Ross Sorkin. We were just talking about how ambitiously we both try to live.
Living ambitiously.
Don't we try to live ambitiously every single day?
With ambition.
Every single day.
Public anger directed the healthcare industry following the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson continues. Our next guest has a firsthand account of working as a healthcare executive. Joining us right now is Wendell Potter, former vice president at Cigna, who is now president of the Center for Health and Democracy, a healthcare advocacy organization. His recent piece for the New York Times is titled, "I Was a Health Insurance Executive. What I Saw Made Me Quit." Good morning to you, Wendell. Appreciate you joining us. What did you see, and why did you want to quit?
What I saw was what the insurance industry has done over several years to erect barriers that make it more and more difficult for people to get the care that they need. And it comes in many different forms. And that is what is fueling this anger, this outrage. Increasingly, patients are finding that even if their policy says something is covered, that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to get it because of the aggressive use of what's called prior authorization in health insurance by big health insurance companies, in particular by for-profit health insurance companies. Also by the excessive amounts of out-of-pocket costs that Americans are encountering. A family can be on the hook for nearly $19,000 out of their own pockets before their coverage kicks in. And this is while premiums continue to go up. The average cost of a premium for a family is over $25,000 now through an employer. So people are getting really fed up, and that's why I wrote that piece and why I have said that the reason for this anger is because people are finally waking up and realizing they have a voice here and have figured out how to express their anger.
Wendell, can I just stop you because you say people are waking up and have this anger. I will say, at least for myself, I am so disturbed. Frank, I don't want to say I'm disturbed that we're doing this segment, but I'm disturbed that we're having this conversation on the back of and inspired by a murder. And it disturbs me because I genuinely fear that there are people that are angry and upset about all sorts of things in this world that they have every right to be upset and frustrated about, but that they are going to resort to violence as a way of trying to inspire and create more conversations like the one we're having now. Do you not have the same fear?
I do. And in fact, I've expressed that. I think it's just outrageous that we're seeing this. But on the other hand, like I said, it's somewhat understandable because people are really frustrated, and they haven't known in the past what to do.
But
with
let's
their
just say it's not, Wendell, it's understandable that people are frustrated. I think we should just be very clear. It is not understandable that people are resorting to any kind of violence, threats, or anything else like it.
Wendell, you say it's reinvigorated a conversation that the industry has tried to suppress. So does that mean we should maybe go, if we're worried about police brutality, maybe we can reinvigorate that discussion by assassinating a law enforcement officer? Why doesn't it reinvigorate a conversation on mental health issues or on the decline in societal norms from something? I mean, I think this is as bad as what Elizabeth Warren said, what you wrote in your op-ed piece, that almost like you just said it's almost to be expected, or now we're talking about it again because of this, because it was caused by the for-profit model. Do you want to get rid of all for-profit models across the board, or just in healthcare?
I guess I think you would say that in healthcare is what has not been working. It's only been since about the last 30 years that health insurance company has been predominantly through for-profit insurance companies. In the mid-1990s, that's when you saw many for-profit, many nonprofit blues convert to for-profit status. But let me back up. I agree with you. I think there should be a new discussion about mental health. One of the problems within for-profit health insurance companies is the difficulty that people have even accessing their benefits. The mental health provider networks are inadequate. Often there are a lot of people, doctors who are said that are presumably in network, but they're not. It's called ghost networks. So there is a lot, I think, that this should rekindle a conversation about. I will say, though, I think it was absolutely outrageous and despicable that Brian Thompson was murdered. From everything I've heard about him, he was a good man and tried to effect change from within United Health Group. What I learned through my career is that that's really impossible. When you have these companies that are, their stock is traded on the New York Stock Exchange, that's a problem. And these companies, by the way, have not fared well on Wall Street this year. Cigna's stock is way down. That's where I worked. Humana, in particular, is way down. It's down about 44% since the first of the year. So these companies.
Is there a way we can fix? Is there a way we can fix the? Because the universal health care or single payer, maybe in some countries with much smaller populations have had some success, but all I hear. Maybe it's just tired, hackneyed tropes, but how long does it take to get a specialist in Canada? Or what's the national health in the UK? You hear about, when you increase demand, where you want every single thing that, without any, no one really minding the store for what you get, no one gets anything because the demand goes up so much, the supply stays the same. And then the entire system seems to suffer, and you get worse health care. It costs more. Taxes go up. What's the answer? Is it possible to fix a system we have, or do we have to go to, as you want, universal health care and single payer?
No, I would challenge that. The Commonwealth Fund does an analysis of health systems around the world every couple of years. And of the developed countries, the U.S. always ranks at the bottom in terms of cost. We spend twice as much on average as the other developed countries do.
Drug abuse, lifestyle. There's a lot of reasons for that, right? And we consume a lot.
That's true, but the Canadians are just right north of us, and they spend a lot.
You can't get a specialist. It takes you 9 months. Takes you 9 months to go see for something serious. You probably die before you get it.
It does not in Canada. You might face a longer delay to get a hip replacement or a knee replacement in Canada, but not in. But you might, if you don't have health insurance in this country, you will wait indefinitely. It is not. That's a myth that I used to help create, by the way. That Canadians wait endlessly for their health care. It's not true. You don't wait for necessary care. In the U.S., increasingly, Americans are waiting forever for the care that they need, even with health insurance.
Wendell, I think this is a fascinating conversation. I want to have you back, honestly, to continue it, because I just think there's so much to it. And there's also just, how we can make it work and work better. And I hope we have the time to do it maybe in 2025. I want to wish you happy holidays in the meantime. Thank you for joining us.
Next on Squawk Pod, some tips for the last-minute holiday shoppers among us. The Wall Street Journal's tech team has a plan for the 11th hour elves. Joanna Stern shares her list.
I can understand that some people would say that sounds like the worst gift ever. But when you think about the fact that 80% of confirmed breaches are because of weak passwords, it's a pretty nice gift.
Hear her out. It's not the worst idea. And there are plenty of jazzier ones right after this. You're listening to Squawk Pod from CNBC, today with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Here's Andrew.
If you're still looking for gifts for the holidays this week, we've got you covered, if you can believe that. The Wall Street Journal's senior personal tech columnist Joanna Stern joins us this morning with her top recommended tech gifts. I am taking notes, though I'm a little concerned that I won't be able to get them to everybody in the appropriate amount of time. But I think a New Year's gift is actually always a good thing.
This is why I'm here, because you can get all of my recommended gifts that I'm about to talk about for anyone within the next few minutes if you wanted to,
Wow.
because these are all digital gifts.
Downloads.
They're digital
downloads,
great. Subscriptions,
for the win.
services. For the win, because guess what? People spend over $1,000 on subscriptions and virtual goods over the year, so why not help them? And so my top gift that you can give people is a subscription, and don't just get them a month, look to get them a year. And this adds up. I mean, this is not going to be a cheap gift, though, if you're looking for somebody, because you can get them Netflix for $186 around without ads. You can get them Spotify for around $150. Those are all, pretty typical things. But now I want to move on, Andrew, to something I think everyone needs to know about, which is obviously getting password managers. I can understand that some people would say that sounds like the worst gift ever. I don't think maybe you wouldn't be thrilled to open a password manager. But when you think about the fact that 80% of confirmed breaches are because of weak passwords, it's a pretty nice gift. To give them the gift of personal security.
I think that's a good one, because most people wouldn't buy that for themselves oftentimes, right?
Exactly. And look, I recommend Dashlane. That's about $80 a year. 1Password's very good. Look, this is the gift of personal security. And
tell me why.
Hold on,
because I'm a user of these services. What you like, Dashlane over LastPass, and how do you feel about the Apple one?
Okay, so we can get into this. So I really like Dashlane. I've had it for many years. I like that it works so well cross devices, works within browsers, and it doesn't matter what browser you're using, doesn't matter what device you're using. This is really cross-platform. Same with 1Password. With Apple, I really like the new solution. It is free. It is baked into iOS 18. It is baked into the Mac. But again, you're really confined to just Apple devices. So if you're going to use a different browser, go beyond Safari, you're going to use a different device, a non-Apple device, you're not going to have much luck with Apple.
How do you feel about a subscription to either ChatGPT, the new Gemini, maybe Claude, others? I don't know, if you had to pick one.
I was going to add this. I think this is a great one. I'm going to admit it here. I'm currently paying for two of them. So if someone would like to get me that gift and take that off me, I would love that. Andrew, if that's something you'd like to get me this year. Look, I'm paying for ChatGPT and Claude. I think both of them are really, really useful. I would maybe ask maybe something if you knew this loved one or friend was already using that one. But those are my top two picks right now.
Joanna, at the moment?
So actually, I think ChatGPT and Claude are the best. I think they come ahead of the others. The issue for me is it depends on what I'm doing. So ChatGPT, I think, is better at writing certain things or rewriting certain things, but Claude is much better at generating brand new types of things. If you ask it to do something, I use it a lot for spreadsheets, creating new documents, big projects. So it really depends on what you're doing. And I'm hearing from actually a lot of people in the industry that are using both side by side. So
hold on. Just because I need to know this stuff. You're saying Claude better for generating stuff that starts with nothing? Is that what you're trying to suggest? And then ChatGPT, what do you give it some more detail here?
Yeah. I mean, look, it depends. It depends on how you use it. One thing that I've really found, especially with ChatGPT, the more you use it, the more it knows you, the more it knows your style. So whichever one you commit to is going to get better for you. ChatGPT, I think, has been better for me for just generating, rewriting things. I use it a lot for just rewriting emails. I will admit, anyone I've emailed here, I've probably had the ChatGPT rewrite it for me. But Claude, what I find it really strong at is creating a new spreadsheet, if I wanted to make a new spreadsheet or import something to a calendar or make it into a calendar file, it has a lot more technical, or it's easier to use in a bigger technical way.
What about Gemini?
Yeah, I've not had as much success with Gemini, I'll be honest.
Okay. Well, we'll have you back. We'll talk about all this in 2025 all over again, I'm sure. Thank you. I actually think I could pull this off. My parents watch the show sometimes, so I don't want to say, but maybe there's something in this little list of things that I may get one of them. Because I think this was a good idea.
They're so nice.
Plus, I'm late, as usual.
You know how nice they are.
My parents.
Yeah.
They're the nicest.
They are the nicest.
By the way, I just need to give a shout out. I was supposed to do this on Friday. Nana Queen, my grandmother-in-law, turned 101 years young on Friday.
Congrats.
So, happy birthday, Nana Queen.
That's amazing. My mother-in-law's 95. Still
pretty great.
Still has some cocktails at Thanksgiving. It's fun.
Well, cheers to those women, and cheers to you. Thanks for starting your holiday week with us. We'll be here tomorrow, Christmas Eve, so tune in.
Happy holidays. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin weekday mornings on CNBC starting at 6 Eastern. You can always find the highlights of that 3-hour show right here on Squawk Pod as long as you follow us wherever you're listening now. Have a great Monday.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.